now, right 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 now.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. Shall we start here on the daily? Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekdaily morning show where we bring you the latest and everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about how an end to the boredom that Bitcoin has been experiencing is going to be happening very soon. In fact, I believe that in the next 2 weeks, you're going to see a massive breakout on Bitcoin, not just because of the announcement that we've had out of President Donald Trump over the last 24 hours that he is going to give it exactly 2 weeks to make a decision about whether or not to strike Iran. We're going to be talking about that discussion, but we're also going to mainly be talking about the charts on Bitcoin today, and I'm going to show you some technical reasons why I also believe a breakout that will be very interesting for Bitcoin will be happening within the next 2 weeks. That's right. About 2 weeks from now, around the 4th of July, we're likely going to see some fireworks out of Bitcoin, and I'm going to be revealing to you today in this stream whether or not I believe that is going to be a major breakthrough to the upside or a major crash, because it really can be either one. So let's get as much information as we can about which direction we're going. Welcome to the stream. If you are new here, my name is Jeb McAfee. I've been working in the cryptocurrency space for almost 8 years now. I've been stacking Bitcoin for almost 8 years now, and I love teaching you guys about how to stack Bitcoin. It is one of my favorite things to talk about. You can ask anybody that knows me. I never shut up about it, and it's because I truly believe that you accepting the gospel of Jesus Christ, and after that, you accepting the orange pill of Bitcoin, those two things are some of the best things that you will ever have happen to you. Not in any way to compare the two, because they're two very different things, but the fact of the matter is, accepting Bitcoin, buying it, is a really great thing for you. It's an amazing, amazing development for your portfolio that I've seen so many people around me finally do. I've been preaching about Bitcoin for almost a decade. It's taken that long for people that have been hearing me talk about Bitcoin when it was at $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 to finally start buying it, and they're still early. They're still a 10x, 20x, 30x, 50x on the table, in play, on Bitcoin. I have people that are in retirement that are buying Bitcoin. I have people that are in their 20s buying Bitcoin, and everywhere in between. And the reason for that is because Bitcoin provides the greatest asymmetric value investment opportunity that we have this century. Someone said, "Where's my coffee?" It's right here. This mug says, "Let your light shine," right? Look for the light in the darkness. I'm sorry. This is a very special coffee mug to us. All right, let's go ahead and read a little bit of chat, and then we're going to dive right on into it. Welcome, everyone who is in the stream on YouTube and on X. As you guys know, we are now streaming to both of them. I want to give you a quick update on our studio. Pretty much everything for the studio has come in. Now I just have to spend the next 16 hours building all of it, but you're really going to like it. It's going to look absolutely incredible. I think we're going to have a better looking set than we had with the last set. I think it's actually going to be a massive step up. It's going to look really, really good. So give me about a week to finish building that, and then we'll be back in studio, back on an actual camera, not just a laptop camera. Appreciate you guys. All right. Let's see here. Kryptoni's in chat. Rick is in chat. Free Hammer is in chat. Peter P is in chat. Schmedley B is in chat. Philly Skills 1428 is in chat. Between the Isles is in chat. Billy Williams is in chat. Welcome everybody to the stream. Really appreciate you all being here. Let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Bitcoin is currently trading at $104,339. And the very first thing that I want to point out, even before we get very far into this, you've heard it before. I'm going to say it again. Bitcoin traded sideways through the war between Israel and Iran. Bitcoin traded sideways through that, and it held above support. Specifically, it held above $2 trillion market capitalization as support. In fact, that's exactly where Bitcoin went to and bottomed out on the 5th of June before the conflict. As the conflict was beginning, little over a week ago, we saw Bitcoin drop down to $2.05 trillion and held it perfectly. Bitcoin holding support at this level is one of the biggest bullish signs that Bitcoin has ever seen. It is remarkable that Bitcoin is holding here above $100,000 in the face of one of the most serious escalations of war anywhere in the world this century. What's going on right now between Israel and Iran is on par, if not even more significant geopolitically than the war in Ukraine, because it could end up becoming the next Iraq war. You could see this going in a multitude of different directions. You could end up seeing Khamenei developing a nuclear bomb and holding the world hostage with it, with a threat of annihilating Israel. You could see that they don't have a nuclear weapon, and this is a total psyop, and we have no idea where this is going to go from here. Or you could see some combination of the two. We could see Trump strike Iran. We could see Trump not strike Iran. We have no idea. This is the very definition of uncertainty. And not only is Bitcoin holding well, the S&P 500 is holding pretty well as well. The SPY, ever since this began, is only down 1.6%. Bitcoin is trading almost exactly sideways from where this began. This is incredible news, and it shows massive strength in the United States economy. It shows massive strength, even more so, in Bitcoin, and this is a really good deal. All right, so let's talk about where I'm getting this 2 weeks figure from. Not going to lie, where I'm getting this 2 weeks figure from is actually both the chart and geopolitics. Let's start with the geopolitics, then we'll talk about the chart. Iran has, over the last year, almost doubled their stockpile of enriched uranium that is enriched to 60%. So if you don't know physics or you're not very familiar with chemistry and whatnot, there are two different isotopes of uranium. You have uranium-235, which is highly reactive, and you have you have uranium-238, which is a little bit more stable. When you are running a nuclear reactor, you generally are running about 2 to 5% enrichment, which means about 2 to 5% of the uranium-238 is actually uranium-235. That's your fissile material. After the uranium splits, it goes through fission, then you have various different atoms that it turns into. So it'll split into a couple of different atoms, and that's where you get your radioactive waste, right? Well, if you have a centrifuge, very, very, very powerful centrifuges, you can spin the uranium-235 at a very high speed, and because they have a different atomic weight, the uranium-235 splits out from the uranium-238, and you can split them in twain. You can pull the U-238 and the U-235 apart. You now have this enriched. What does enriched mean? It means more rich, right? You have this enriched uranium-235, which is highly reactive. Uranium-235 is very unstable. Uranium-238 is far more stable because it has more neutrons, which allows for the nucleus to be more stable. Again, I was a student of astrophysics. I'm extremely familiar and comfortable with these kind of concepts. Uranium-235 being much more unstable means that it will decay on its own, sometimes explosively, that's what you see happen in something like a nuclear bomb. The reason that you don't see a nuke go off when a nuclear reactor melts down is because the uranium is not enriched enough to explode, to create a chain reaction, but it will release radiation in a very dangerous way, even though it won't explode. Well, what Iran has done is they've enriched, oh gosh, I forget the exact number. I want to say it's about 2,000 kilograms. It's an enormous amount. It's like 18,000, how many thousands of pounds? Several thousand pounds of enriched uranium, up to 60% enrichment. This is not something that is done for the sake of commercial grade reactors, energy enrichment for the sake of energy production. And the reason that that's not done is because you don't need to do that, and it's also extremely dangerous. So it's unprecedented to see a nation develop this big of a stockpile of uranium enriched to 60%, because in just a couple of weeks, it could be spun up to 90% enrichment, which is bomb grade uranium-235. Why have they done this? We don't know. But we do know that this is not just Trump and Netanyahu saying that this happened. The IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Administration, reported just a couple of days before this breakout of war that they were in violation of some treaties, and we've also seen confirmation from a lot of different people that their stockpile of 60% enriched uranium-235 is growing. Why are they doing this? Well, I think the reason that they're doing this is because they want to race for a nuclear bomb. They can see Khamenei's been in power over there for how many decades, right? I mean, dinosaurs were roaming the earth when he got in power, when the Shah was overthrown in 79. So he has been around long enough to see what happened to Libya. When Libya gave up their nuclear weapons program, the entire state failed, and Gaddafi died. He also is able to see what happened when North Korea went for a nuclear weapon, and they got it. They're still sovereign. This is not about morals here. This is about Iran wants to continue functioning as a state, and they're a pariah state, and most of the world doesn't like them. why would they not then go for a nuclear bomb? You think about it for a second. I'm not saying they should or they can have a nuclear bomb, but you think about it from Khomeini's standpoint. Why wouldn't they? Now you can say, well, Khomeini said that this is sin, this is that. You can quote him and you can say all that, but think about it from a political standpoint, from a geopolitical standpoint. If they could develop a nuclear weapon, which they're very much capable of doing, or at least they were, who knows if they are anymore, they were capable of doing it, they might still be, why wouldn't they do it? I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they have one. I have no idea. What we do seem to have confirmation of is that they do have a big stockpile of 60% enriched uranium, which is far more than you need for energy production. In fact, it's not very good for energy production because it would release energy too quickly, and you wouldn't be able to contain it, and you would end up having a meltdown if you were to use that. And on the other hand, that basically begs the question, what's going on here? And so we've got this 2-week time frame that Trump has set. He said that he's going to make a decision about whether or not to strike Iran, and most likely he's talking about the underground fortress and the underground enrichment facility at Fordo. Fordo is approximately 280 to 330 feet below ground. The United States is the only nation state in the world capable of destroying a base like Fordo from the air. Netanyahu has floated the idea of a commando strike to take it out from the inside, which very well may happen. But Trump and the United States military is the only military on planet Earth that is capable of destroying a bunker like that with the GBU-57 bunker buster bomb. It's a 30,000-pound bomb that can tunnel 200 feet below ground, waiting to explode until it's drilled 20 stories underground. It would likely require a strike of 2 to 3 of these bombs, one to basically create a massive crater, another one to drill right down into Fordo, and then a third one for good measure. So it would probably take 2 to 3 of these bombs to destroy Fordo. But that's basically what Trump is toying with. The United States military, along with the Commander-in-Chief, President Donald Trump, have decided on a plan of attack. Now he's deciding on whether or not he's going to do it. I think Trump is playing art of the deal. I think he's threatening to kill Khomeini, and I think he's threatening to knock out Fordo, and I think he's giving the Iranian elites time to think about their decision because he wants them to come to the table, and he wants to be remembered as this president of peace. After all, he did begin his political tenure by calling out the nonsense of the WMDs in Iraq and the Iraq War. That's how he got on the map in the first place, is by saying what everybody was thinking, which is that they never had WMDs. Now, whether or not Iran has them or not, I have no idea. That being said, they are obviously potentially close to a nuclear weapon if they wanted one. I'm not going to wade into whether they do or not. Frankly, I think they probably do, and they're just hiding it, but who the heck knows? This 2-week time period sits perfectly with the way that Trump negotiates. This is the art of the deal. The art of the deal is generally what Trump does is he makes a crazy, outlandish claim, goes completely as far as he possibly can, and he seems like a madman, and then he negotiates from there. It's a little bit like this. You're negotiating for a couch on Facebook Marketplace, and you say, I'll give you $1. I'll give you $1, and if you don't take my deal, I'm going to shoot you. That's basically how he negotiates. He's a street fighter from New York. I will buy your couch and you'll give me $20 or I'm going to shoot you. Like that's basically the way that he negotiates. And then the guy says, oh, okay, well, fine. I'll give it to you for 50. And he thinks he's playing hardball and Trump gets a great deal. And so that's what he's trying to do here with Khomeini. The question is whether or not Khomeini, the Ayatollah of Iran, is going to play ball or not, or he's going to get bombed. We'll see. I really have no idea. I can't tell you for sure what's going to come out of these negotiations. But what I can tell you is Trump's probably serious, and within 2 weeks, we're probably going to have some kind of decision about whether or not the United States is in conflict, and that brings us to the charts. It just so happens that Bitcoin, and this is where we're combining the geopolitics with the charts, this is part of the reason you come to the Crypto Jeb YouTube channel. I have a background in physics, geopolitics, economics, cryptocurrencies. I can kind of bring all those things together and explain to you how they all interlock. Bitcoin over the next 2 weeks also is facing a decision, and that's because of this symmetrical triangle pattern that's being built right now. Over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to be at the very end of this symmetrical triangle pattern. In fact, 2 weeks from now, which is Trump's deadline right here, we'll move it back a day because he said it yesterday, right here is Trump's deadline. You will also notice that Bitcoin has about 2 weeks, give or take, before we're 70 to 80% of the way through this symmetrical triangle pattern. Bitcoin is almost certainly going to have broken out of this symmetrical triangle pattern at that point in time. In fact, it's also interesting that Bitcoin is even starting to range here between 104 and 106. So Bitcoin is getting extremely constricted. If we bring up our Bollinger Bands, I would say we probably need to look at them on the on the daily chart, maybe. Let's look at the daily chart. Yes, you can see the daily chart Bollinger Bands are starting to constrict quite nicely. Even here on the 12-hourly chart, I think would be better. The Bollinger Bands are starting to constrict very, very close together, which indicates that this lack of volatility on Bitcoin is going to lead to excess volatility on Bitcoin. Why do I say that? Well, as we say all the time, markets are cyclical. We see this happen. It's very obvious. This is beginner level stuff. When Bitcoin's going up, you're asking the question, when is it going to go down again? When Bitcoin's going down, you ask the question, when is it going to go up again? And when Bitcoin is being volatile, you ask the question, when is it going to calm down again? And when Bitcoin calms down, you ask the question, when is it going to get volatile again? And the market is doing just that. With Bitcoin having low volatility right now, with the Bollinger Bands becoming constricted, and I think the 3-daily chart will show this well. Yes, it will. You see the Bollinger Bands are coming in here very tightly on the 3-daily chart. With the volatility dying off, it brings us to this place where Bitcoin is looking for the next volatile breakout, which makes sense because the world is also looking for its next period of volatility. So the stage is set right now for a major breakout on Bitcoin, not just because of the geopolitics and the situation in the Middle East, but also because of what we're seeing happen right now on the charts, which is that the charts are being constricted. So let's start with the stock market, and then we'll zoom in on Bitcoin because they follow each other. Let's begin by establishing the premise that Bitcoin follows the United States S&P 500. The Bitcoin market follows the United States S&P 500. More or less, whenever Bitcoin is in an uptrend, it is normally coinciding with a bull market on the S&P 500, and I will prove that to you. These are all of the major uptrends that we've seen on US S&P 500, and then we'll see how they compare to Bitcoin. You can see that it started here, ended here. Just go ahead and draw some charts here, right? Major uptrend, major uptrend, major uptrend right here. Do you see the overlap? I'm sure you do. It's very obvious. When Bitcoin is in an uptrend, as you can see here and there, and as you can see right here and right, let's get our brush, and right here, and even more recently, Bitcoin traditionally follows the US S&P 500. Now, I can go and make a much more detailed chart on that, but I think you get the point. On the other hand, Bitcoin normally is inversely correlated with the DXY. What is the DXY? The DXY is the dollar currency index, which makes sense. The dollar currency index tracks the strength of the United States dollar against a basket of other world currencies. When the DXY is growing in strength, Bitcoin is typically not. This is part of the reason why I am starting to wonder about whether or not the super cycle idea is going to actually have some validity, because the United States dollar, I think, is a little ways away from having a massive increase in its strength against other currencies. I don't think the dollar is going to continue gaining a bunch of strength right now, simply because I think that there are a lot of headwinds against the strength of the dollar, mainly because of the United States deficit, the United States debt, and the increasing bond rate. And I know we're getting pretty technical here. Hopefully you're able to keep up with me. The DXY has been crashing, which has been very good for Bitcoin. And I think both of those trends are going to continue. I think the US S&P 500 is going to break all-time high, because if there is an attack in Iran, I don't at this point think it's going to go into all-out war. I think if Iran gets attacked by the United States, I would hope that Ayatollah Khamenei is smart enough to sit down and shut up and do as he's told. I have no idea if he will, but I would hope that under threat of U.S. invasion, he will remember Iraq and realize that's not very good for his people. I have no idea whether that's going to happen or not. I have no clue. I would hope and I would pray that level heads would prevail and Trump would be able to keep us out of a protracted conflict, considering he began his entire political career campaigning against protracted conflicts in the Middle East. If he strikes Iran, take out the nuclear facilities and leave. Like, I understand the idea that Iran can't have a nuke. They chant death to America every chance they get. But for goodness sakes, don't get us into a protracted conflict with Iran. You can take out the nuclear sites either with commandos or with airstrikes, without having to get all the civilians involved and wreck the country even more than it already is. Iran's actually a pretty decent place to live before all this started. You know, it's obviously there's horrible human rights, but as far as, and by decent, what I mean is it's relatively wealthy. I shouldn't say decent. I don't like the morals, but it's relatively wealthy. And so hopefully we wouldn't get into a protracted conflict, reining it back in here. My point is, hopefully we wouldn't get into a protracted conflict that would lead to this massive crash on the United States S&P 500. It may lead to a scare, and then it may lead to a dump, but hopefully it wouldn't last too long, and Bitcoin and, the US S&P 500 would break all-time high and continue to rally because the United States would be in and out. That's what I'm hoping for. And frankly, based on Trump's tenure, based on his career, he's always been against Iran having a nuclear weapon. Always. He's always been against that. He's been against that for 10 years. And he's also always campaigned against long, protracted, drawn-out wars in the Middle East. In fact, when he was doing his Middle East tour a couple of months ago, he went there, and part of the reason that he was so successful with the Saudis and with the Emirates and with all the different nations there is he didn't go there to lecture them about morality. He went there to make money, which is what the president of the United States ought to be doing. He shouldn't be going into the Middle East, lecturing them about money. Let the missionaries go over there and teach them about Jesus. You're the president. Focus on our interests in the region. Let them do their thing and respect their wishes. It's their country. I hope that Trump stays true to what he said for the last 10 years, what I voted for personally, which is stay out of the Middle East, but Iran can't have a nuke. You can do those two things at the same time. You can take out the nuclear facilities and be gone in 2 weeks. That's possible. The U.S. military is the most powerful military on planet Earth. He could do that. And I hope that we either don't get involved at all, or if we do get involved, it only takes a couple of weeks. We'll see. Who knows? I'm going to just go ahead and assume that Trump keeps true to who he says he is. I don't know whether he will. We'll see. I hope that he stands by the whole, we're not going to get involved and sit here and, have untold bloodshed on both sides, thousands of American troops, hundreds of thousands of civilians, trillions of dollars. I hope that he wouldn't do that. And then the stock market at that point in time might have a correction, but it would recover pretty quickly. All this to say, again, our main point here is that I think in the next 2 weeks you're going to see a lot of volatility. We're analyzing the geopolitical situation and the market situation to understand which direction that breakout's going to come. I believe that within the next 2 weeks, you're going to have a lot more certainty about what the next 6 months looks like. I think within the next 2 weeks, you're going to have significantly more certainty about where the market is going and where the world is going and where this situation is going than we do today. Even if there's a strike. Think about this. If Trump strikes Iran, at least the markets know what we're doing. At least the markets know what we're doing. At least the markets realize, okay, we're doing a strike in Iran. Hopefully the administration is very upfront about what they're doing. We're going to take out the nuclear sites and we're going to dip. And hopefully if they make that promise, they freaking keep it. I'm not interested in screwing around with the regime over there. I am interested personally in Iran not having a nuclear weapon because they want to nuke people. I mean, that's what they've said. But hopefully they would stay out of it more so than that, because it's not really our business otherwise. It is our business that they can't have a nuclear weapon. I understand that, but it's not our business that doing anything else. And so at that point in time, I think in the next 2 weeks, one, you're going to have more certainty whether we're having a strike or not. I am hoping that that diplomatic efforts will prevail. That would definitely be very good for markets. But in general, in the next 2 weeks, I can predict that most likely, we will have significantly more certainty. Either there's no strike and diplomacy is winning, or there is a strike and we at least have some kind of game plan. Like, hey, within a month, we're going to take out the nuclear sites and then we're gone. I understand what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jeb, but they're not going to honor that promise. Who knows? I don't know if they will. But they're going to say it, and that's what the market's going to go off of is, oh, okay, we're only going to be here for 2 weeks. Maybe we're stupid for believing them. I have no idea. Maybe we do get drawn out into a protracted war. Maybe what they're trying to do is cause maybe what is going on is that Trump needs to crash them, needs the interest rates to go down, so we get into a war, and then, we can speculate all day long. But I think you're going to have more certainty in the next 2 weeks. And I really think that the reason that Bitcoin has not already gone through a major breakout and the reason that the US S&P 500 has not already gone through a major breakout is quite simply because of the fact that we don't know what's going to happen. I think that what is going to happen is that you're going to see more certainty come into the markets in the next 2 weeks, and that gives us a bullish catalyst. Here's where we start drawing conclusions. Based on all of this evidence, based on our understanding of how uranium works, based on our understanding of how geopolitics works, based on our understanding of Trump and what he said on the campaign trail. Again, this is why you tune into our channel, because I bring in information from every single area. A lot of people are one-trick ponies, man. They understand one concept and they get it wrong a lot because they're not looking at the whole picture. When you look at the whole picture, when you look at how uranium worked, when you look at the 60% enrichment, so that helps you to understand, how Trump and Netanyahu are thinking. When you look at the fact that Iraq happened and people don't want to repeat that, when you look at at the voter base, with Trump's voter base not wanting to get into a protracted conflict, but frankly, he could probably sell it to him. Hey, we got to take out the nuclear sites and dip. He might be able to get that to pass with his voter base. They can't have a nuke, but we're not going to get into a protracted conflict. We're not interested in regime change. We just want to take out the nuclear sites and dip. He might get that through because he's also talked about how he doesn't want a protracted conflict. When you talk about how Bitcoin follows the United States S&P 500, but it also goes against the dollar, and because of what's going on geopolitically and also what's going on with the central banking system and what's going on with the deficit, the debt, and the interest rates on U.S. bonds, then you expect the dollar is going to continue to lose value, which is inversely proportional to Bitcoin. So you expect if the dollar is losing value, that Bitcoin will gain value over the course of the next several years. When you look at the amount of inflows coming in from the treasury companies, when you look at the fact that retail's not even here, and the fact that we've sat above $100,000 for over 40 days straight, when you factor all of this in, it leads me to the conclusion that when Bitcoin breaks out of this symmetrical triangle pattern, I think it's going to break bullish. Personally. That's what I think. That's my conclusion. I think that when Bitcoin breaks out of this symmetrical triangle pattern, we're going to break bullish. Don't get me wrong. There's a big part of me that wants to say there's a CME futures gap down at 92. There's a CME futures gap right there. And if the administration does not do this in a way that brings a lot of clarity, here's where we start getting into alternative scenarios. If the administration does not bring a great deal of clarity, we're not going to strike. We're going the diplomatic route. We're going to strike. We're taking out these targets. It's going to take 2 weeks, 5 days, and we're gone. If they do not make things very clear, you will likely see a retest of $92,000. If Bitcoin support at 100,000 is as strong as I think it is, and if you have the administration be clear about what it is that they're doing, then that's where I think there's a great chance that the United States S&P 500 breaks all-time high, and so does Bitcoin. What if I'm wrong? What if they don't make it clear and Bitcoin does drop? A backfilling of $92,000 is very likely at that point. I would say that if they are not crystal clear about what they're doing, or if a nuke goes off or something like that, like let's say Iran has a nuke and they launch it on Israel, then you talk about black swan events, or Israel launches a nuke on Iran. We know Israel has nukes. They could do that anytime. Let's say something extremely destabilizing like that happens. There's absolutely room for a drop. So I want you to be prepared for that too. I think a little bit more likely than not we're going to rally, but it's only slightly more likely. I'm talking like 55, 60% likelihood that we're going to rally out of this symmetrical triangle pattern. There's still a great chance, 20 to 30%, that we drop down here to 100K or even lower. And there's probably about a 20% chance we just trade sideways up here for 3 months. I mean, you could do that. That's also possible. But in the event that we do have some more instability, such as the market doesn't react well to the United States launching an airstrike on Iranian nuclear enrichment facilities, then what ends up happening is that Bitcoin likely falls back down here to the gap. The CME futures gap on Bitcoin currently stands at $92,000, $92,000 to $92,420. Nice. If Bitcoin does break $100,000, I think there is an extremely high likelihood that that gap gets filled. I want to be prepared for both scenarios. I have invested an enormous amount of money into Bitcoin between $100,000 and $108,000. Massive amount of Bitcoin I've bought in that range. I'm good with how much Bitcoin I bought in this range. I'm accumulating a little bit, but I've slowed down because I dumped a lot of money into it, and I'm very happy about it. And frankly, I used most of our cash, so now we're kind of back down to just monthly income dumping into it. If Bitcoin did dump down to 92, I'll scrape together some more money, and I'll buy some more, and I'll buy the dip pretty handsomely. But I'm pretty much agnostic to what the market does. I don't need, and here's kind of one of the things I want to teach you guys today. You don't need to know what the market's going to do to be ready for whatever the market does. You don't need to know exactly what the market's going to do to be ready for whatever the market does. If Bitcoin dumps down to $92,000, then you buy the dip. If Bitcoin doesn't dump down to $92,000, guess what? You buy the dip. Saylor and Strategy, along with Nayib Bukele out of El Salvador, acquire Bitcoin, regardless of the price. Saylor has acquired a ton of Bitcoin below $40,000. He's acquired a ton of Bitcoin between $90,000 and $105,000. And he's still going to make a crap ton of money. Every time that Bitcoin goes up $1,000, they make $590 million. Think about that. In 1 minute, the candle moves $1,000, which happens like 20 times a day. They're bouncing around $1 billion in valuation. They're not timing the market. They're timing the market. Remember, if the market's going up and to the right, then the best thing you can do is to buy low, but the second best thing you can do is buy early. You can control buying early. You can't control buying the dip because you can't make the dipper. You can't make it dip harder. You're not a whale. There are some of you guys in chat that are whales. I mean, I know some of y'all's positions. You've got hundreds of Bitcoin, some of you guys. Some of you guys can control the market a little bit and make it dip. Sell it exactly the wrong time or open a short at exactly the wrong time, cause it to dump below the support. Some of you guys are market manipulators. I guess the goal is to make us all into whales so that we can manipulate the market, right? No, just kidding. If you're going up and to the right, the two best things you can do are buy low or buy early. Because as you'll notice, the earlier you are, the lower the price is. The later you are, the higher the price is. You need to realize that while the market on the daily chart does a lot of this, if you zoom out, what the market is actually doing, is basically just this. It's just up and to the right with some volatility mixed in. The earlier you buy, the lower you buy. It really is that simple. So, short term, this volatility makes it more likely that we'll see a drop down to 92. But I still think that it's more likely than not that we'll not drop down to 92. What I mean by that is instead of it being a 10% chance we drop down to 92, it's probably like a 35% chance now that we drop down to 92. You see what I mean? But still, the most likely outcome is a rally. Instead of being 80% likelihood, now it's like 55, 60% likelihood. It's gotten less likely you're going to see a big breakout, but I still think it's the more likely scenario. I still think it's the more likely scenario that Bitcoin breaks bullish here. And if it does break bearish, one final thing to leave you with, and this would be one of my biggest arguments for it breaking bearish, actually, even more than the war in Iran and Israel, and that would be that if we did drop down here to 92 to fill the gap, then you build the left shoulder of the inverse head and shoulders pattern perfectly, and you have the perfect inter-rally corrective movement to set up for a massive springboard all the way up to $141,000. That is something to look forward to. I want to hear your opinions in the comment section. Do you think that Trump's going to strike Iran? Do you think that Trump is going to give us a clear answer? Or do you think there's going to be more uncertainty? Him playing, ooh, I'm the boogeyman, you have no idea what I'm going to do, is useful for deal making, not useful for markets. So do you think that's going to come to a conclusion soon? Or do you think that it's not going to, and we're going to continue to see a lot of uncertainty here? If we do continue to see the uncertainty, and we do see the drop, I really want you to understand how good that is for you, the investor. Not necessarily good for you, the Israelite, or you, the Iranian. That's not helpful. But as helpful as this is for buying Bitcoin, and that is that if the Bitcoin market does go through a drop down to 92, you get extra time to acquire more sats. I personally love it when Bitcoin goes through a corrective movement because it gives me more opportunity to buy more Bitcoin. And I don't know about you, but I love buying Bitcoin. And so I believe that we're going to see a breakout in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be a significant breakout. And I believe that more likely than not, that breakout will be to the upside. But because of recent events, it has led to an increased likelihood that we will see a corrective movement than the likelihood that we already had. Let's read some chat. Matanya Holmes said, I'm from Israel. Pretty sure he will just show power, but Israel is capable of doing it themselves. Interesting. There is also the third option, which I've talked about, which is that Trump might arm Israel to commit to do the strike themselves. Israel could very simply just do the strike on their own. If he gave them or sold them the GBU-57 bombs and had the military teach the Israelis how to drop it out of the back of a C-130. It could technically be done. It's a precision-guided bomb. It could theoretically be dropped out of a C-130. It was dropped out of a B-52 Stratofortress in 2009 when it was being tested for the first time. So it can be dropped out of a different launch platform than a B-2 Spirit. So it can happen. Wild times. Happy to have you here, Jeb. Yes, happy to be here. Guys, we took the day off yesterday. Our kids were out of school, and we went to our friend's house. They have a lake house, which was awesome. I got to drive a jet ski for the first time, which I picked that up really easily because I've driven motorcycles before, and also jet skis are surprisingly really easy to pilot. And I also learned how to wakeboard, which I completely fell flat on my face like 40 or 50 times. Yeah, I got messed up on that wakeboard yesterday, man. But I did finally get it, and they like towed me all the way around. A quarter of the way around the lake. It's a big old lake. So I did finally get that after a while, and our 4-year-old got to drive the boat at wide open, full throttle, doing like 30 knots. I don't know how fast we were going, probably about 30 knots. And he's just, my 4-year-old, I'm like, sweetie, we're about to fall off this boat. This kid is driving a freaking boat. I don't know how we got ourselves in this situation. But it was pretty fun. We didn't get kicked off the boat. So that was nice. But yeah, I had a lot of fun yesterday. Got to spend some time with the family. Got to go wakeboarding. I've always wanted to. I absolutely sucked at it. But I did figure it out. I think next time I'll be able to maybe do some tricks or something. It's nothing like snowboarding. I figured it'd be a little bit like snowboarding. It's really not. It's nothing like snowboarding. If anything, it's actually a little bit more like skateboarding. If you were to get towed behind a like a boat or a car or something. Israel has zero chance of finishing this without U.S. help. Yeah, I mean, it would be very difficult for them. I think they could, but it'd be very difficult for them. They're getting hammered. Israel's getting annihilated. Israel is doing a lot of damage to Iran, but you got to remember, Israel's really small. It's really small. It doesn't take that long to take out everything in Israel. It's really geographically tiny. I saw something the other day, which was absolutely sad. This broke my heart. There was a bunch of people that could not name where Iran was on a map. Okay, so you got Israel right here, and you have Iran right here. Iran, as you can see here, let's just keep the same zoom. This is Iran. See how large it is? Let's just zoom over to America. Yeah, that's about the shape of Iran. The northwestern portion of Iran would be right up here in the corner of Wyoming. The southeastern part of Iran, down near the Strait of Hormuz, would be down here in New Orleans. So it's about a third the geographic area of the continental 48. Most of it's desert, population of 92 million. Significantly larger population-wise, land area-wise, everything than Israel. Israel is significantly smaller in the grand scheme of things. Israel is like 50 miles across by 100 miles, 150 miles vertically. So, yes, Israel would have a difficult time finishing this war and not getting, Gaza'd without U.S. help. So we'll see what happens here. Iran has a massive ballistic missile arsenal, and they are just getting started. So is Israel. I genuinely hope and pray that calmer minds, leveler heads prevail and quickly, but we will have to see. Time will tell. Persian people are awesome. I agree. Persia is very cool. I'm not exactly the biggest fan of the Ayatollah himself, but I love the Iranian people. Iran and Israel as David and Goliath. We'll see. Jeb is right. Timing the market is more important than timing the market. It really is. Buy and hold. Buy and hold. Set a time frame. Set a goal. You have to have a vision. I tell people this all the time. If you want to get anywhere in life, I want you to close your eyes and tell me what color the drapes are. What does the house that you're going to be in look like? What is the are you pro-Muslim? Of course not. I'm not pro that in any capacity. I don't want this war at all, which is also why I told you I don't want Iran having nukes. Quite frankly, I don't feel comfortable with Israel having nukes. I don't think anybody ought to have nukes. Certainly not either one of them. You need to close your eyes and go there in your mind. What does it look like? What does the future look like? What does your family look like? How many kids do you have? What do you want your marriage to look like? What do you want your finances to look like? How many Bitcoin do you want to have? You need to close your eyes and say, I want to hold Bitcoin for 5 years. I want to hold Bitcoin for 10 years. I want to hold Bitcoin for 15 years. I want to hold Bitcoin for 20 years. You need to close your eyes and think to yourself, how long can I hold and not die with a massive stack? Because you want to enjoy your life too. For me, that's where I believe I want to hold Bitcoin until at least 2040. Our goal, buy Bitcoin, hold it until at least 2040. We're not going to sell all of it then, but that's when we might be willing to start taking some profits. At that point in time, I think Bitcoin will be trading at several $1 million a coin. It's not that big of a difference to me. It is a small difference, but it's not that big of a difference to me to see an entry at 104 or 92. That's a little bit better. I mean, I definitely prefer the 92 entry, but when you look at it from that framing, then what you realize is that $92,000 is an opportunity, not a curse. And this is one of the biggest things I campaign about here on the channel is stop getting freaked out about drops. If you have conviction about where the market's going in the long run, then the drops are opportunities. You make money when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own blood. Buy the frickin' dip. Quit complaining. I'm very excited to see your new office or studios. Yes, I am too. It's going to be very cool. Very cool. I've got a couple little design tweaks I need to do, but I think it's going to be really nice. It's an upgrade to the previous studio, actually. I'm taking the idea of the previous studio and expanding it, and a lot more money going into it. We're going to have another camera angle. I think it's going to look really professional, really good. Cannot wait. All right. Let's see. Hydrogen from ocean water? Yeah, there's definitely hydrogen in ocean water. You know, there's this weird thing. Everybody who drinks dihydrogen monoxide ends up getting sick. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. Guys, I'm going to have to wrap it out pretty quick here, but we're going to read a little bit of chat before we go. Israel will carry out the operation alone. C-130 wouldn't work. They'll deploy alternatives to the GBU-57. What alternative to the GBU-57? I don't know of any other bomb in any arsenal in the world that has a chance. The GBU-57 would require several of them to take out the site, because the bomb explodes at 200 feet, 200 feet below the surface. Fordo is between 280 and 330 feet below the surface. In fact, some parts of it are probably over 400 feet deep. I don't know of another bomb that's non-nuclear that would be able to take it out. And that's where Trump is probably weighing the idea that, hey, Netanyahu might just be crazy enough or desperate enough, or a combination of the two, to drop a nuke on Fordo if he can't get his way, because they do have nukes. And so that, I mean, Trump is in I do not envy Trump's position. He's in a very difficult position. This is a very hard decision to make, because whatever decision he makes, people are going to die and people are going to hate him. There's no option here where that's not an outcome. There's just no option. So I do not envy his position. I've told people a lot in the last few days. I do not envy the president's position here. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision. And I am praying that he will make the right decision. And I don't know what that is, because I don't know as much as he does, and I certainly don't know as much as God does. So may God lead our leaders and teach them and guide them. In the name of the Lord Jesus, teach them, lead them, guide them, help all of them, the leaders of Iran, the leaders of Israel, the leaders of the United States of America, make the right decisions, following the right values. That's very important to me. Yes, get Crypto Bros off your intro. Yes, we're going to be getting a new intro also. I'm finishing the physical production, and then I'm moving on to the the digital production. So, getting the studio built, new camera angle, new studios, new sets. I'm getting a whole new wardrobe, getting some new suits, some new ties and everything. From that point in time, then I'll be moving on to revamping the digital production. We're going to be getting on Rumble. We're going to be going on Instagram. We're going to just go absolutely crazy. Get out there, new intro, new outro. I don't know about the outro. We might keep that for a while, but the new intro anyway. Yeah, very excited. C-130 vulnerable to SAMs. True. It's the only option they have without the United States getting involved or using a nuke, though. Just a little bit. Let's see. We'll read a little bit more chat. We got about 2 minutes left here, and then we'll wrap it out. Putin warns of possible Chernobyl, right? Sell them a B-1. I don't think they're going to sell them a B-1. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think the B-1 or the B-2 are for sale. The B-1's a different plane. That's the Lancer. The B-1 Lancer. The B-2 is what's used to drop the GBU-57. I don't know. They might be able to drop it out of B-1. I don't know. I'm not sure. I've never heard of it. The B-1 can carry a okay, it doesn't anymore. It was nuclear. It was made nuclear capable, but it doesn't carry nuclear weapons anymore. Interesting. Read chat for another couple of minutes here, and then we'll wrap it out. Any questions you guys have, now's the time. Jeb, your skin is clearing up nicely. Thank you. I appreciate that. Maybe I'm finally growing out of it. I'm almost 25 now. I cannot believe I'm almost 25. How did I get so old? I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. When I did my face reveal and you guys found out I was 19 and not 40, it was very funny. You go back and watch that. The video went up on November 16th, 2019, the day the channel turned 2. I was a toddler. You guys found out I wasn't 40. You all thought I was in my 30s. I was 19. You're like, what? That was funny. All right. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's stream. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned. We've got a lot of exciting collaborations. I'm going to have you guys come on stream. We're going to have other big names in the cryptocurrency space coming on stream. I believe that you're going to really enjoy what happens here. I'm just very excited. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure to check out some of these links down here below the stream. Sign up for LuxAlgo if you haven't already. LuxAlgo is incredible. When you sign up for LuxAlgo, you're going to be getting access to the best technical indicator that money can buy, and you're also going to be getting access to a Discord server with over 200,000 like-minded cryptocurrency investors and traders that understand where the market's going and are making money every day. LuxAlgo is the best thing that you can buy after you bought Bitcoin because it's going to help you get more Bitcoin. Sign up for LuxAlgo with the link in the description box down below. As far as what LuxAlgo is saying, as of right now, we are still bullish. But as you can see, we're right here teetering on the edge. We drop below this uptrend, and all bets are off. We're going into a red sell signal, which will probably give us a price target down here around 92. I mean, that's actually where the reversal zone is right now. So we're more likely to see a $92,000 drop than ever before, as far as than in the last several weeks. But it's still not confirmed, and it's still not the most likely scenario. We could be getting there, though. I mean, you can almost see here like a center line in between the reversal zones. We're basically falling below it right now. If Bitcoin falls much farther, a drop down to 92 is very much in the cards. Not drop down to 92 is more likely than we've seen in a while, but it's still not confirmed yet. LuxAlgo is going to help us make that call should something change. If we break below 104, then a drop down to $92,000 is highly likely at that point in time, and we'll keep you guys updated partially by using LuxAlgo. So if you have not already, make sure to sign up for LuxAlgo. Also, don't forget to sign up for NordVPN. NordVPN is an excellent tool that will help keep you safe while you browse online. NordVPN offers the very best security for your device, protecting you from phishing, protecting you from all kinds of cyber attacks, protecting you from your information getting leaked and sold to online data brokers who are in the business of stealing from you, selling to the highest bidder, and making money off of your privacy. NordVPN is going to keep you safe, secure while you browse online. If you've not already signed up for NordVPN, then what I want you to do is go to nordvpn.com/Jeb, and you will be able to get access to a mega discount plus 4 months for free. This is an exclusive deal that we have with NordVPN, an official sponsor of our channel. For $81, you can get 28 months of the basic NordVPN plan right now. If you've not already signed up for NordVPN, I don't know why you wouldn't. It's an excellent package, so make sure to sign up with the link in the description box down below. Guys, I'm very excited about where the next month or so is going to bring us. I have one final very exciting announcement that I'm going to be announcing over the next couple of weeks. Been many months in the making. I'll be announcing that in the next few weeks. You'll see where a lot of my time has been going, and it's something interesting that we're working on. So I'll let you know what that is. I really appreciate you all being here. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, sign up for some of our sponsors. We really appreciate them. We believe in them. We don't take a sponsor on this channel unless we believe that that product or that service or that company is going to provide you value. And so if you sign up for Nord, it's going to help keep you safe. Of course, we make money off of it. This is a business. That's what I do. I'm an influencer on YouTube. That's my deal. You know, that's what I do is I teach you guys, and that's my job. That's how I provide for our family. So NordVPN is a good company. We personally use them. I use NordPass. I use a lot of their products. I use NordVPN for security. And LuxAlgo, I've used LuxAlgo for many years. So if you want to get the tools that I use, these are the tools that I use. These are not tools that I don't use, and I say, hey, go use these, even though I don't use them. These are tools that I use. Make sure to sign up for NordVPN and LuxAlgo because these are some of the best tools that I have access to that I am thankfully able to share with you guys. So make sure you sign up. Really appreciate you guys for being here. And before I go, I love you. Have a wonderful weekend. I will see you guys on Monday. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.